But I think the first, we only have about 15 minutes. I hope that will be enough for each time.
Yeah, of
But
course.
what we can try and do is email in between our meetings so that if there's some bigger stuff we need to work through, we can do that and just talk about that once a week, if that works for you. But you're getting started on your clinical, and I think if I remember right, you have your own classroom, correct?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I teach kindergarten.
Okay, so let's go through. I think you have like a list of things that you and I are supposed to cover during this meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you want to ask me or tell me what you're going to be doing, like units and objectives and that sort of thing, and then we'll go through the rubric?
For sure, yeah. Right now, it's actually fluctuating because some are leaving, some are joining, so it's a little bit of a weird time.
Okay.
But yeah, I have 7 students. They're 6 years old. They're in English immersion, so they speak Korean, but not in class. We promote an English-only classroom. As far as lessons go, I teach like a huge variety of lessons. It's not really just English. It's like interdisciplinary kind of things. So it's intertwined with a lot of things. So next week we're definitely discussing things like fossils, time,
Okay.
living versus non-living. We're doing like a Mad Hatter's shop and like creativity workshop kind of.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, definitely that's like the overview of the classroom. And I
Okay.
actually think they're really like 5 years old in Western age. So they're
Okay.
pretty small.
Okay. And do you use objectives and standards, or are you creating your own?
Unfortunately, not really. I try to. I'm using the California core standards in a lot of ways. At least I'm aiming to, but they haven't given us any. So
Okay.
I'm kind of getting my own based on like the books and material that we're given that helps guide us, but we don't have anything written.
Good. Okay. You're using content areas to teach the language, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
And we're pulling out like a lot of key phrases and words. I'm also supposed to develop my own phrases with them to help them have like a natural native sound kind of. So yeah, but we're using a lot of core materials to help build certain vocabulary
Okay.
and
So
grammar structure.
are there any kinds of lists or vocabulary like expectations for ELL learners? Or are you
There
doing
should
that?
be.
Okay.
There
Okay.
should be, but it's mostly my decision for the classroom as far as like who's creating the vocabulary. It's mostly
Okay.
just stuff that I pick based on the material, and I try to pick things that I find will be useful for them.
Good. All right. And then procedures. So how long is your day with them?
9:30 is when they usually all come in and then start getting ready for circle time. Class starts at 10, ends at 2.
Okay. All right. So it's kind of a short day. So you need
Yeah,
to
it's not long.
you need to make sure you get your 200 hours in, right? Have you thought that through?
Actually, I hadn't fully thought about that being an issue, but now that you mention it, yeah, I guess I need to think about that more because the day is not necessarily that long. Although we will be teaching until my partner and I are teaching at the same school. We'll be teaching until March at that school, so I hope that's like enough time to get everything done.
Okay.
We also teach after school programs. I don't know if that counts as well.
Yeah, you can include that.
Okay.
You can include that. Just have somebody on site sign that for you that you've done
Okay,
that.
perfect.
Yeah,
because I'm teaching until like 4:30 every day.
Okay. So each week you're going to be given a standard, and they're from the InTask standards, which is the interreliability standards that are used. They're out of DC. And each standard, if you have a chance, I would advise you to look on Module 8 syllabus and run through the standards because each week you're going to be evaluated on those standards. So let me pull them up. So there are 10 InTask standards. The first 3 are about the learner and learning. The next 2 are about content knowledge. The next 3 are about instructional practice. And then the last 2 are about professional responsibility. And I always tell my candidates to look at these right away, standards 9 and 10, because you need to be gathering evidence that you're doing these things throughout your time.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to get caught in a bind when you get to those weeks and you haven't been gathering your evidence. Then you're going to be scrambling to try and figure out what you're going to use for your evidence. So I would advise you to go this week and look at what is needed for that. It's really about professional development, and I'm going to try and read this without my glasses. These are the questions that are on the rubric. Understanding learning. Did the candidate demonstrate an understanding of learning? So we're looking to see that you used really good instructional strategies, that you understand how kids acquire understanding. Did the candidate demonstrate that she can meet the student's needs outlined in Standard 1? Did the candidate develop instructional strategies based on student readiness for learning? So did the candidate use developmentally appropriate instruction, and did the candidate collaborate effectively with families and others? So you have those, you have the 3 components that you're going to submit along with my evaluation. So you're going to submit a lesson plan, obviously, and then you're going to submit your video, which I will watch, and then you're going to submit your reflection. So that if there's some element of the rubric that you haven't really thought about or maybe didn't go as planned, you have an opportunity to address it in your reflection. So let's just say that you don't have a lot of opportunity to collaborate with families. You can talk about how maybe you set up a virtual newsletter, or how you have a website that they can. So you want to try and cover all the bases between the 3 things, and you definitely want to try and demonstrate as many of those criteria as you can. You know, make sure you plan for that, and you can even highlight, you know, in your lesson plan, how I understand learning, or and then in your reflection, what some candidates have done, which is really helpful to make sure you talk about each of the elements, is do a subheading that says, does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. And I know, like, I'm looking at the standards now too. There's so many standards that we've got over for like 8 months. It's like hard to think about how they like separate. But yes, I actually was looking at these standards before, and I took like a couple of notes on my paper.
Good.
So yeah, I see which ones you're talking about. And there are a lot of subheadings like understanding learning, meeting student needs, and they're all very specific, and they give like point scores, so I know exactly what I'm looking to meet. And thank you for the advice though, because it's like I'm not as much of a procrastinator as I used to be, but I haven't looked as way far ahead as I needed to, like at the full end goal, like 12 weeks from now. So I will keep these in mind as I'm planning things to make sure they're all met.
Yeah, and so if you make sure you upload those pieces, then I can take a look at them before we meet and give you my evaluation. I'll fill out my evaluation and go through it with you in our weekly meetings. Okay. Feel free to email me, and we can meet back in Zoom at any time. But otherwise, hopefully, I'm excited for you. You're at the end here, the finish line.
I'm very excited too. And thank you so much for helping me. This whole process has been crazy, but it's really helpful to know that someone will be there to like actually check to make sure everything's going smoothly. And
Good. Okay. Well, I'll try and figure out how do I access this recording, and then I'll send it to you so you can put it in your submission. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good night, I guess.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.